intimate conversations with wedding professionals as they share their stories, insights, and tips from inside the wedding industry. We'll chat about how to be authentic and that it's okay not to be perfect or run your business like someone else's Instagram. Let's dive into the privilege it is to serve our clients and discover the talented creatives that make up our community. When we share what we know and who we are, we better serve our couples as a wedding day team, as well as each other. Simply put, Be Fabbo. Now here's your host, Bobbi Brinkman.
Happy Wedding Wednesday, podcast listeners. Thanks for joining me today. Hopefully everybody's had some Fabbo vacation time, some summer fun, and some summer adventures. Got a chance to recharge your soul and spend some quality time with your families and friends and explore and step away from the wedding world a little bit. I know as small business owners, we're always have our fingers on the pulse of our business and work with our business and getting everything done for our business. But it's nice to sometimes step away from the daily hustle and bustle and just be part of our own family and friends story. So hopefully everybody has gotten a chance to do some of those. I know across the nation, I think we're all getting ready to gear up for fall wedding season. Man, Mother Nature, let's hope that she puts her mood in check as we enter hurricane season here in coastal South Georgia and our fellow coastal regions that deal with hurricanes. Between the rain and the heat this year, it seems like across the market, wedding market and industry, everybody's had to deal with some extreme weather conditions. So let's hope that she gets back on her medication, so to speak, and calms down a little bit, and everybody can have some Fabbo fall weddings. So I'm wishing that to all of you. Episode 29 today, we're going to chat a little bit about what engaged couples want wedding pros to know. I sent out a little questionnaire to some of our followers and to some of my own clients, those that are planning a wedding and those that have already planned a wedding. And I kind of asked them to send me 3 of the things that were on their list when they were planning a wedding, when they were looking for a venue, when they were looking for wedding pros, when they were searching to find those people to make up their wedding day team. And I asked them to give me 3 things that were good and 3 things that they struggled more with so that I could kind of just share in a podcast. I think it'll help engage couples that listen in and also to our fellow wedding pros. Just some things that, I'm sure all of us know and we love to be more conscious about and we love to make improvements on, but sometimes wearing all the hats that we wear, some things do fall through the crack. And while I know it's all of our intentions to offer extreme Fabbo wedding experiences to all our couples, here's some things that they gave us that might just be things that we can look into, just recheck, just while we have a few days or maybe a week or so before we get busy again, just to go through and fine-tune some of that as we get ready to head into the busy holiday booking season as well. We all know that once Thanksgiving gets here, a lot of people start saying yes to that ring, and then we're into what we know as booking season. So, again, reached out to some engaged couples, and here are some of the things that they brought back to me in forms of their questions. We had about 64 questionnaires come back, so I've kind of gathered them all up because some of them obviously were repeats and dupes, but I kind of gathered them off, and I think I've got about 20 or so that we'll bring to you in this episode 29 of the Be Fabbo Podcast. So the number one thing that pretty much came across the list, should be no surprise to everybody, is, and I'll use this word, ghosting. Engaged couples that were looking to venues and vendors, and they found that the number of people that did not get back to them was crazy. We had 5 couples tell us that if they sent out 10 emails, it was not surprising that only 2 people got back to them. And of the 2, most of them were a canned response. I'm out of the office or I'm off at a wedding. I'll get back with you. So I found that pretty amazing that out of 10 emails, the response rate from wedding pros were 2, and they were canned. So I think we all know how we don't appreciate when couples ghost us. So I think if somebody reaches out to you, fellow wedding pros, do them the courtesy, even if you have to do one of those canned emails or canned text replies or however you respond, at least follow up and do so. I know as a wedding pro, if I'm referring somebody and I say, hey, Susie, contact XYZ They're a great asset to your wedding day team. And she comes back to me and says, hey, I've never heard back from XYZ. It is so frustrating as a wedding pro, especially if I reach out to you and say, hey, I'm sending this person over to you. She's definitely interested in talking to you. Have a chat with them. Take 5 seconds to respond or reply. Even if you respond to me and let me know you're out of town, then I'm happy to respond back. But ghosting in our industry is becoming something that's very annoying for the wedding pros, and it's just as annoying for the couples that are looking into booking us. Most of them of the responses were, I sent out an email, I never heard back from anybody, I had to move on to my venue, choice number 2. Venues seem to be one of the areas that they seem to get least replies from, followed by catering. Those two things are pretty huge to wedding planners processing. And when you're planning your wedding, especially a destination wedding, I think you really want to hear from the venues and then probably the catering people pretty early on. Then the rest of us vendors can kind of follow suit, because I know for me, I'm always wanting to know where you're getting married at and that you have that date secured before I really would move forward to booking you, because it's just a nightmare if you tell me one date and I book you for the date and then you don't have your venue and then that date is no longer available. It makes for a lot of really hard logistics. So I know for here at Bobbi Photography, I won't book you until I know that you have a secured venue and that date is secured and firmly booked with a venue. So I think as we move forward, especially to booking season, this is one of the things. Maybe check and make sure that your autoresponder or your out of office is working, and that you do follow up and check those when you come back. I mean, we all deserve a time off, and we all know we're busy on the weekends. So the fact that we can just let our couples know, hey, we'll get back to you on Monday, that we're at a wedding this weekend, I think couples appreciate that more. And we all know that these couples are wanting responses within 5 or 10 minutes, or they're going to move on. And I think a lot of the couples are sending out, like several that sent back their questionnaire to me, that they're sending out 5 to 7 to 10 emails at a time for bulk emailing to get back 0 or to get back 1 or 2. So imagine if you're the 1 or 2 that got back to them, you probably have a higher chance of booking that couple just simply because you responded back to them. So ghosting seems to be the number one thing that drives engaged couples crazy when they are researching their wedding day team and wedding vendors. And they say that if they got responses back from the couple, from the venues and the vendors that they were reaching out to, that they would be more inclined to book that person right from the email, simply for the fact that they took the time to respond. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind a little bit. The second thing, number 2, was priceless PDFs. Engaged couples were thrilled that when they went to certain websites, they were able to click on a PDF and get information. However, following up to that number 2 issue was sections A, B, and C, and they all said that the PDF was either outdated, that actually included 2018 or 2017 pricing, or the links were broken, or the information was unreadable. So engaged couples would like for those vendors that include website pricing on their website, or venue pricing, or service pricing on their website, to make sure that is up to date. They say that it's frustrating to find a venue, to find a vendor, go through the website, love everything they see, click on the pricing information, and it comes back blank or outdated. And sometimes, by their own admission, they did not realize that it says 2017 or 2018. Then they proceed to have a conversation based on this rates, just to find out that that was old information, and that the vendor themselves said, hey, sorry, I haven't updated. So sometimes that cost now, when they're working on their budget, becomes an effect. So everybody, if you have PDF price listing, or however you share your pricing on your website, or however you share your information, please make sure that's up to date. Couples seem to really enjoy being able to get some facts and figures on these PDFs and other forms of clickable links. They would just like to make sure that they are actually working links, that they're highly frustrated with that. Number 3 was a lot of couples mentioned that they are using their phones and tablets to view our websites. and that the number of vendors that do not have a mobile compliant website make it very hard for them to see. Again, broken links. They click on the menu button. If they can find the menu button, that seems to be a big pain in the butt, as one of them said, is that they found a vendor that they like and they went to the website, looked on the phone, and there was no menu. It all just scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. And on her phone, she was having a hard time seeing what anybody had to offer. Even the photos were getting all mixed up, and it was very hard to see. So again, this generation seems to be using their phone and tablets. They're stepping away from the desktop laptops, and they are using their phones and tablets to plan a wedding. So they would like all of us vendors in the industry to make sure that our mobile phone viewable websites look great on a mobile phone or a tablet. So just kind of clicking on that. The other thing that they wanted to talk about on the website was the contact forms. The number of people, I had 17 people in this questionnaire that stated the contact forms either were broken or did not work, or the contact forms had questions that they were not sure how to answer because they were in the beginning of the planning stages, but their contact form said that the information must be inputted in order to send the contact form. So while I get all that, and I appreciate all that, and I know why we have our contact form set up, maybe we need to make our contact forms a little bit easier to send information out. I know a lot of us are trying to, guys, we're vetting the client as much as the client and the couple is looking at us. I mean, the interview process goes both ways. So we want as much information from our couples as they want from us, just to make sure, in full honesty, that we're a good fit and it's going to be a right fit. So I know a lot of us ask, hey, I need to know your date, I need to know your venue. But some of the couples that sent in their questionnaire said that the contact forms ask some questions that are just not able to be answered at this stage, but they would love to get information. Following up on that was when the contact form did not work, they were not able to find an email readily on the website, why they were already on there on the contact form, to send out information via email instead of filling out the contact form. So again, I know as a vendor, and I know Tina as the studio manager, when we're trying to reach out to you fellow vendors, if we can't find your email or at least a contact to give you a call, it's really hard for us to send clients over to you if we can't find out how to get a hold of you. So maybe why we're kind of in this little bit of a slow season, depending on where you're listening in at, we can just check to make sure that our websites are looking good on mobile and on our iPads, and that we can make sure our contact forms and our email are also visible for our customers. Number 5, is many of them actually want to talk on the phone. We had several couples that wrote in that said, while they did not mind filling out a contact form or an email, what shocked them was the number of people that only wanted to communicate with them via text. When planning a destination wedding, I really wanted to get on the phone or have a Skype with the potential clients because we're not in the area. I know that, a lot of us don't like to talk on the phone. For me, it's easier for me to pick up the phone and ask you a question sometimes than texting. I know I'm old school that way. But I'd rather hear it straight from you and cut to the chase and get an answer instead of having to spend some time to text it in or emailing. So couples said sometimes we have a lot of questions that by the time we want to write them on an email, sometimes we can get a really good vibe for how the potential wedding pro's personality is by actually having a chance to speak to them on the phone or on Skype. And several people in dealing with destination weddings realize that the time zones are different and that often email works great for initial contact, but they wish more vendors would take the time to reach out and ask for a phone call or set up a Skype or a FaceTime or another way to communicate that is just not always in email. Now, I know a lot of us want to have that written communication so we can check back and look for, but again, maybe some of us need to be a little more open to wanting to speak and chat. A couple of the couples that wrote back said they would love to have a spot on the contact form that said, are you available for a phone conversation or a Skype? And then the couples that are reaching out can check that, and that way the vendor knows that they would like to communicate in another way too. So I think that's something, that would be nice to add if you can do so in your contact form. Vendor referrals was another one that engaged couples seemed to love. They said they highly took into consideration when they booked, especially their venue, when they booked their venue and the venue had a preferred vendor list. While they realized that some of the vendors that are on that list probably paid to be a listing, they felt that the venue would not allow somebody that would not represent their venue and their space nor would they want a vendor on that list that would not be able to perform their duties to the best of their ability simply because the venue recommended them. So vendor lists and vendor referrals seem to be something that clients really, and engaged couples really look for. When I booked my DJ, I asked if they had other vendors that they could recommend because I fell in love with my DJ. And the fact that the DJ was able to recommend several other people along the lines of rentals and decor really was refreshing, and I knew that they all wanted to work well together. Another person said, in speaking to my photographer, it was great that my photographer knew several vendors that had worked in that area before and that had worked in the venue before and were able to recommend people to come and be part of the wedding day team. When booking my photographer, it was great. This one happened to speak out to me, so I'll take that nod. When I spoke with Bobbi, she was able to refer several other vendors to me, and I knew that if Bobbi enjoyed working with them, and Bobbi always talks about the importance of building a valuable wedding day team and one that you trust and that you can work together. So I was thrilled when Bobbi was able to recommend an entire group of vendors. I was able to reach out to them and retain all of them for our wedding. And I can indeed tell you that it made for a much pleasurable experience. Everything ran smoothly because everybody was on the same page. So I do think that's a testament to us. If we know that we work well with somebody else, and we know that a couple that's reaching out to us has a certain style or a certain vibe or certain theme, I think we all in this industry know a florist that might be able to, bring their vision to life, or a DJ or a band that would be the perfect MC and entertainment for that wedding. So it seems that couples really do take to heart and find it valuable and important when we as wedding vendors refer others. So again, I think keeping that in mind as you reach out, and sometimes if you're one of the first person to be contacted by a couple, you are able to show how well you work with others and your wedding experience. And I think that's going to really make for a wonderful day for your couple and an experience that they would be happy to talk about moving forward. The next thing that couples talked about was they would love to see more wedding vendors be upfront and offer more guidance. A couple of people wrote, obviously you guys do this every weekend. We obviously only attend a few weddings, and I'm not sure if everything went great or if it was supposed to go great, but I would really love for wedding pros to take more guidance. I understand that many of you don't want to step on our feet, but there's many of us that are planning a wedding that really do not know what to do or where to start. And we are looking to the wedding experts, you guys, the wedding vendors, to help guide us in a direction that we may need to go and help bring our visions alive. So I know a lot of us don't want to step on toes, and we are maybe kind of quiet until we get booked and get that retainer in. Not that it's about the money, but then I think officially we feel that we can begin working and being creative once we have that customer under contract. So I was really thrilled to hear that there are engaged couples that are wanting us to be a little more forthcoming and proactive with our experience and sharing what we know as the wedding experts. So keep that in mind when you start chatting with a couple. Maybe offer one or two things more. And if they don't want to know about it, I think they'll tell you, but I think they're going to appreciate what they know that you can help them with. And that kind of followed up with, we had several people who said, I wish that they would be more open. I wish wedding pros would be more open to not always telling us this is how it's done. So right here, guys, it's that catch-22. So engaged couples that are listening in, I did this questionnaire and we had a good chunk of the questions that came back, responses come back, that wanted us to be more forthcoming and more upfront and maybe telling you more about our wedding experiences and sharing us as experts. followed by just as many that said, and I quote, "Too many wedding pros I talk to only want to tell me, quote, how it's done every weekend," end quote. To those that don't want us to tell you what to do, that you want to come in and do your own thing. So I know wedding pros, myself included, I want to hear your vision. I want to hear what you want to do, what your plans are. I feel my job is to help guide you with the logistics of that, saying if you choose to go outside in the middle of July in coastal Georgia and the temperatures are 104 and you do not have a tent or a backup, your guests are going to be hot and they're not going to like you, even though they're on a small vacation in coastal Georgia and can see the beach. All they're going in the ocean. All they're going to be thinking about is jumping in that ocean to cool off. So I feel my job is to help guide you into the logistics of the cause and effect of what would happen, but still help you get to have that beach wedding that you're wanting. But I just need to fill you in on some situations that may arise if you choose to do something like that. And again, this is where a wedding planner, and we're going to jump to that a little bit later, but this is where a wedding planner really come into play to help bring something like this all together. So wedding pros, take from that. We have couples that want us to share more of our experiences and want us to be more forthcoming and pretty much want us to do everything and tell them everything how it should be done. We have just as many that will like us to take a back seat, listen more intuitively, and then figure out how we can make their vision come to life, but it needs to be their idea. And they want to be the ones telling us, and they don't want us to do this trends, and they don't want us telling them how it's done every weekend. The next question is, please state if you're LGBTQ plus friendly. So we have a lot of same-sex couples that are out looking for weddings now that we have marriage equality. I have plenty of episodes on this that you can listen to and follow up on. But as an engaged couple, as a same-sex engaged couple, I was really leery to reach out to some vendors because I was not sure if they were gay-friendly. While I did see some same-sex weddings on their photography forum, I was not sure if those were style shoots or they were actual weddings. As a member of the gay community, I would really appreciate if vendors would simply put something on there to let us know that we are welcome and safe. That would be one of the keys when we are looking to plan our wedding, especially since we do not know how to plan a wedding or anything about wedding planning. I would like to know I can find a vendor that is LGBTQ plus friendly and an ally that can help guide me in all these ways. So obviously there's plenty of places on your website that you can simply put open to all. You can actually LGBTQ plus friendly, add a rainbow flag, add a trans flag, whatever you want to do to let people know. But the simplest way to let everyone know that everyone is welcome there is to simply say, hey, everyone's welcome here. That's kind of what I do. I've done that forever. Everyone is welcome here because I want everybody to know, big or small, I'm here to tell your love story. So as people start looking, they would simply like to know if you're LGBT friendly so they feel safe to reach out and talk to you. And that followed up with photographers that are showing same-sex weddings. Could you please let us know if these are a style shoot or if these are actual weddings? And if you're comfortable in doing LGBTQ plus weddings, please show same-sex weddings on your website, whether you're a baker or a caterer. I'm reading this from the question. Whether you're a baker, a cake baker, or a catering company, can you please just show us photos that include us so that we know that you're also LGBTQ friendly? All right, so there's that. The next thing is wedding photographers. Why are so many of you not wanting to share full galleries? We would like to be able to see full galleries of a wedding. I think we had about 8 or 9 people that wrote that was one of the things when they were searching for a photographer, that the photographers only send snippets or they actually sent galleries titled highlight from XYZ venue. Couples would like to see full galleries. They want to see what it looks like to be a full day there. One of the questions that came is, I understand that photographers don't always want to give an exact count for how many photos are taken, yet that is one of the questions that seems to be asked. How many photos do you take? When you show a gallery, I sometimes see that there might be 1,000 photos. I sometimes see there might be 200. Yes, that's what you would see sometimes from photographers if we show you a full gallery. I think it's our responsibility to let you know that might have been a small wedding, that might have been a larger wedding. There's circumstances why there might be 500 photos versus 1,500 photos, and every photographer has their own way of telling a story. But I do think that as photographers, we need to be able to show full galleries and just let people go and look. Also, one of the things that was brought up underneath the photographer and actually catering and actually florist was, can we please would like to see more photos or actual weddings from certain venues. I was going to get married at XYZ, and I was looking for vendors who had serviced or worked at that venue. So that's another thing. Sometimes when we tag our photos, or you're a wedding planner, or you're a florist, make sure that you maybe segregate a little bit. I hate to use that word segregate, but break down in some categories, weddings from the Mackey House, or weddings from, the City Museum, or weddings from Botanical Gardens, or weddings from, University of Georgia in Athens. Maybe anything like that will help couples, search for that, but also see that you've worked at those venues. That follows up with, engaged wedding couples, my first search was to search for hashtag Georgia weddings, hashtag Savannah weddings, and then I broke it down into the category of venues that I wanted to get married at. Once I booked my wedding, I then researched and went down and started singly looking for that venue and all vendors that worked there. So I would love to see wedding vendors break down into categories if they have worked at certain venues. So sometimes I don't have to ask. Sometimes it gets lost in the emails that they forget to let me know if they've worked at that venue or if they have photos from that venue. So again, that kind of goes back to, do you want us to share all the information that we know and say, here's a wedding that took place at the Ships of Sea. This is what it looked like. I think I, as a wedding professional, want to give my couples as much information as possible, but I also don't want them to think, hey, it's going to look like this. We really try hard here at BBP not to treat the couples like couple number 2,144. We try to treat them as the individuals that they are, and I want them to have the most unique and individual wedding that represents who they are, that they want to have, and I want to be a part of help capturing who they are in their wedding day. So I think while we want to show venues that we've worked at, I think we also run the risk of, hey, this is what it looks like here. This is what this couple did. We're not comparing you to that couple, but here's some ideas that this couple did. Kind of goes back to what some of the questions were earlier with, you want us to be more forthcoming and tell you exactly what was going on versus some of you saying, here's the trends that was going on. You may not want to do them. So maybe just, hashtag or alt tag some of your photos and make sure that you are including the location and the venue name, especially. It looks like people are searching by the city, by the state they're going to get married, then by the city, and then by the venue. So definitely take a look at that. Next one came in about videography. I would love for the videographers to be able to share more of what they do. We're getting back a lot of PDFs that just say, here's terms of service or here's our service agreement. I don't really know what the difference between a cinematographer is versus a videographer, and your PDFs that come back from videographers do not seem to explain things a lot. One of the things that also came back is videographers seem to be asking for a lot of money. Their rates seem to be high. I cannot determine what I get for that rate or the value. So several other questions along the category of videographers that also fell into photographers was, please better explain your services and what all they include. We're obviously not doing a good job of letting the couples know what $3,000 or $5,000 would get them, and $5,000 for 2 videographers and a 2-minute trailer. In layman terms, I don't know if they know what a 2-minute trailer is. I know this new generation is more adept and more informative and would probably know what a 2-minute trailer is, but it came back on a questionnaire that they would like to have a little bit explanation of their services. Then we came down to DJs. Many of the questions that we got about DJs was will you make it easier for us to choose playlist songs? I don't need to look at a website full of sound bites. I would simply like to see a list and include play these, do not play these. I also would like the DJ to take more questions and ask more about my celebration and the guests that are attending so that they can customize a playlist. I would really like to see a playlist customized for my event where I wouldn't have to be bothered by the DJ or be bothering the DJ to play a different round of music. We would like to see DJs come up with custom playlists that are geared for my personal event. I also would like to know if DJs are MCs and if they do ceremony music as well as DJ music. So it looks like DJ people, DJ vendors, you need to explain a little bit more or make it well known that you're doing ceremony music and that you also do reception music. And some of you guys need to have a playlist easier to choose, and they're looking for you guys to really make things customized. Also on the DJ front is DJs, please explain the difference in the services of DJ lighting, uplighting, and anything else that you provide other than music. When it's put together in a collection or a package, I'm not sure what uplighting means or 12 up lights mean. I'm not sure if I even need uplighting. So again, DJs, looks like we just need to explain a little bit more about the services that you offer and how you offer them and why you offer them. Then we took some questions about catering. They would love to see, engaged couples would love to see caterers offering more signature dishes or wow dishes. And they also would like for caterers to offer tasting menus and tasting solutions. And they would also like caterers to offer catering times that are easier to do and offer weekends. I got to reread that. Sorry about that, guys. Would love to see caterers offer more flexible options for tastings. When planning a destination wedding, we cannot always get to the venues or to the caterers for weekday, and I understand that you guys are always busy for catering on the weekends, but we'd love to be able to taste our food and do a sampling. And again, some questions about would love to see caterers start really coming up with some dishes that they love and are unique. And make it a wow statement for our guests. Food is of vital importance to our wedding, so we knew that we were going to put a good significant investment of our budget onto catering, and we're really lucky that we found a caterer that took our menu and just added their personality to it. So it looks like catering, again, is always, a very key, and it is a good chunk of investment. But it looks like the catering people, the catering vendors, looks like couples would like you to make it a little more simple, for them to come and do tastings and to sit down and chat with you. And they're also looking like they want you guys to really, put on your chef hats and show off a little bit and wow their clients. I know that catering is a big investment for a lot of our BBP couples, and they really like the caterer and the chef to come up with a creative cocktail and to also come up with some creative apps that are totally unique that their wedding guests may not have been able to pick up at another wedding or had the experience. They really want to offer something different when they come here to coastal Georgia. And even though shrimp and grits is on almost every catering menu, I know our couples love to see when the chefs and the catering team come up with a unique twist or even a unique presentation on shrimp and grits. That's the other comment that came in about catering is I love to see caterers come up with unique ways for presentation to present appetizers. I love past appetizers, and one of the things that we loved when looking at a catering company was that this was an option to have strolling apps and past apps, and appetizers were something that they specialized in, not just sit-down menus. Would love to see catering companies mention if they offered this aside from a sit-down menu or if they prefer to do several courses. Also, love to see catering companies in certain destinations, especially in coastal Georgia, come up with why and how we can have low country boils, we can have oyster roast, and kick it up a notch so that we can have a truly experience for our wedding guests. Also would love catering companies to offer multiple days. And this was exactly what this question said. We'll love to see a caterer offer a rehearsal dinner, a get to know you dinner, the catering of the venue itself, wedding itself, and at the venue, and also if they offer on-site and off-site catering options, and then offer an option for the Sunday. So we could have the catering company for the full weekend, but have multiple options from the catering company. We'll love to see catering companies mention this in their advertisement, on their websites, or just an email, and be open to communicating with having an option to have you for all 3 days and make it a food experience. So, hey, there you go, caterers. You might get booked for all 3 days. These guys are looking for on-site and off-site. Looks like engaged couples are, again, placing a priority on their food and the guest experience. So that's great. Wedding planning. Wedding planners. It seems here that wedding planners, we would love to see wedding planners on their websites and on their Instagram state if they offer same day or day of coordinating, and explain the difference and what all it entails. When we were visiting wedding planning in certain areas, again, we would hashtag the city that we were getting married in, and then we were looking at wedding planning, and quite often we only got day of, and we did not go full service planning. We had to go through several wedding planning websites to find somebody that would do day of, as that what we were interested only in. And I appreciated that we sent out PDFs, but the PDFs never included day of. Also thinking about wedding planners that were concerned were wedding planners were especially planning a destination wedding. We really need help in gathering destination venues. As a destination wedding, we needed a way to look at venues other than just the websites, and really appreciated when wedding planners would go out and FaceTime with us at venues or bring back a wedding video and share it by the phone. We loved the fact that we could hire a planner that was able to add this to their services and part of the services. So wedding planners also love to know a wedding planner that also is a designer, and a designer that can also bring together a wedding day team and will reach out and contact and set up appointments with fellow vendors. Again, planned a destination wedding. No way we could reach out to all the wedding pros we wanted to hire. We booked our venue, and then we booked a wedding planner, and the rest of the day was seamless because we had a wedding planner who was assembling all the rest of the vendors. Wedding planners also please include, if you are able to do multiple days, wedding planners please also include if you have suggestions for other things to do for our guests while in town. Wedding planners please also make available a list of services and any a la cartes that we could add on. We got a lot of PDFs back from wedding planners, and a lot of the things were left off the list. And once we secured a wedding planner, everything began to be adding up as additional fees. And we felt that we paid an extreme amount of money for a wedding planner for items that we did not use or did not need, but then were billed for a bunch of a la carte things that should have been included, in our opinion, first. So there you go, wedding planners, a little bit of information about what you can do and things that you can add to your website and services that you can add that engaged couples are looking for. Last thing about wedding planners is I cannot tell you enough how refreshing it is to be planning a destination wedding and know that I can find a wedding planner that specializes in multiple venues and has listed the multiple venues that they worked with on their website. It made us feel comfortable when I knew that we had a wedding planner that had worked and we could see photos at a certain venue that we were interested in, and the wedding planner made the connection to the wedding venue and then introduced us. We love the seamless transition that this made, especially planning a destination wedding. All right, hair and makeup people. Here's what couples are asking for you. Please be more forthcoming in the amount of time that you feel it takes to prep wedding bridal parties. It looks like they understand that at the time of booking, they may not know if they have themselves and 3 bridesmaids, 2 mothers of the brides, etc., but they feel that hair and makeup people just put out too vague of pricing, that they do not know how much it's going to cost. Engaged couples seem to really like what hair and makeup people that gave a per person rate along with the list of services, and that the option to have hair only or makeup only was available. When looking for a destination hair and makeup person, we definitely wanted to be able to do a trial. We appreciated the hair and makeup people who allowed us to do a trial by our photographer suggestion, which I always suggest. Upon our engagement session prior, we set up a hair and makeup trial. Then I was ready to go for my engagement photos, and I felt that I knew enough about my hair and makeup person that on the wedding day we can make tweaks. Even though I did not wear my hair the same for my engagement photos, I knew that the tweaks were going to be made for our wedding day hair. I was very comfortable. Hair and makeup people, when planning from afar, it would be great if you could give us a time that we could come down for a trial or a few days prior to our wedding to at least meet and have a trial. Hair and makeup people, they're also asking for an easier way to make payments to you. Most would love to see more hair and makeup people have a booking process and a payment process directly on their website or available to take Venmo aside or checks and not just cash on the wedding day. While I made preparations for my entire wedding party, my bridal girls, to have their hair and makeup, there was 10 of us. When we got to the day, I had made arrangements to write a check for everybody, and the hair and makeup person did not take a check. This was something that we chatted about before. Somehow it was missed in the translation or the emails. So having to scramble to come up with a couple $100 cash on the wedding day, I felt was very unprofessional. Another thing for hair and makeup people is love when hair and makeup people tell us the appropriate time that we need to start. I was in a wedding a few years ago and had to be at hair and makeup at 6:30 in the morning, and the wedding wasn't until 2. That's because hair and makeup people had booked 3 weddings. I really would like to find, in my search for finding a hair and makeup person, I was finding a company that was only doing 1 or 2 weddings a day. And I also wanted to find a hair and makeup person that offered a team, somebody that did hair and somebody that did makeup. So I had multiple people there where it would not take hours upon hours, and then we were sitting for hours. So hair and makeup people, there you go. If you have a wedding day team and somebody's doing hair and makeup and somebody else is doing the hair, somebody's just doing makeup, it seems that couples are really appreciating the fact that you don't have to start at 6:30 in the morning. You can start a little bit closer to the time for photos. So that's a very good tip there. Other than that, hair and makeup people, seems like you're doing a wonderful job. Just those few little tidbits that they found that were aggravating when they were trying to book. I think most of us, are very familiar now with Venmo and even PayPal. And so I think you guys have, at least in our case with working with hair and makeup people, we don't have any of these issues that were concerned here in the questionnaire. We also got quite a few questions about hotel room blocks. So for the venues that are listening that host hotels, it's quite frustrating to not be able to go online and do hotel blocks. When we were initially filling out our form to host our wedding at a hotel, we were told we had to have our room block set so far in advance that it was impossible to know how many rooms we might need. Having the flexibility of having room blocks start a little bit later and extend longer, especially for destination weddings, make it easier. Also, cancellations for room blocks. When we were planning a destination wedding, we were going to be charged a fee if we canceled several room blocks within 3 days. Flights were delayed and life happened, and several of our guests were not able to attend. The fact that we had to pay for these rooms was very, very aggravating. I would like to see a different notice. I understand hotel venues run the same notifications as they do on regular days, but if we can make an exception for wedding season and for wedding parties and for wedding room blocks from your average hotel stay, that would be much appreciated. Also, hotel venue question that came up. When we were initially planning our hotel wedding, everything looked great. We did our site tour. It was beautiful. We found we're not once notified that next year construction was going to start for a remodel. When we arrived 2 days before our wedding, and we found that the swimming pool was not working and several of the areas were off limits, it was very frustrating and discouraging to us that we had chosen this beautiful venue to host our hotel, and now some of the amenities were not going to be available to ourselves or to our guests. It would have been nice to have been told up front, in person, that renovations may be happening, may be starting at some point the following year during our wedding, or at least get an email prior to our coming that renovations had started. That kind of goes a song line with venues. Venues, they would like to know that if you're doing any upgrades or any changes, please let the couple know as far in advance as you can. Not that their wedding day, should take away from anything that you're doing, but it seems that couples, are upset, and I think rightfully so, that, if you show up and say, hey, I have this great pool to go swimming in and it's under renovations, and when you booked the hotel, it wasn't mentioned, or when you booked the venue. We have several venues down here. Matter of fact, I'm going to be, the rest of this month, I'm going on touring some new venues, some venues that are brand new that I have not been at, and also some venues that I work at. And one of the questions I'm going to bring up came off of this questionnaire about how do you handle remodels and constructions and updates. And so we're going to be talking to some venues here in Georgia as I go and visit and kind of just see from their perspective, because that's got to be a daily struggle. You want to keep your venue booked, you want to keep your hotel booked, but by the same token, if you work for a chain or you're not the owner, upper management and the big CEOs say when things have to be remodeled. And if you own your venue, when's the right time to start renovations and upgrades, and then also be booking to make revenue to make these upgrades? So that's one of the questions. So hotel and venues, that seemed to be one of the biggest concerns. Again, the number one thing for venues was, please just send us back information if you have our date available. Couples would like to hear back from venues or hotels, whether it's a yes or a no. They just want to be updated about what's going on. One of the last things is photographers and videos would love to make sure that photographers and videographers all know how to work well together. That while we do not intended, one of the biggest things that I found out, let me rephrase that. One of the biggest areas that I found confusing was photographers that also offer videographers. I'm not sure I want to bundle everything up that way. Hey, as a wedding photographer, I can tell you, I want to stay in my lane. I want to do still photography. And I do feel they are two separate practices. They serve two separate purposes. How I go about capturing your day versus stills versus how a videographer and photographer goes about. And then the editing on both of those are two different scopes of expertise, in my opinion. I think you should have two separate companies. I think you then get two different points of views. For some of you who want everything to look alike, perhaps, but I don't think that still and video looks alike to begin with. I think it's two different mediums. So I love the fact that we had a half a dozen questions that say photo videographers that are bundled up together, they did not feel that it was a value to get both in the same place, nor did they feel it was a value that they had to choose one to get the other, that they wanted the right to have one or the other, and it wasn't options. One of the questions that came in was, when choosing a photographer, I was quoted a rate, and then when I opted not to choose the video portion, the rate changed. I felt that this was a almost like a bait and switch, and I did not appreciate falling in love with this photographer, excited to secure this company, to find out that if I only wanted the photo portion, I could not. Let's talk about contracts and booking your vendor. One of the questions that came up, several questions came up that says, if couples felt that once they had a contract with a vendor, they did not have to worry about a cancellation. Comes to find out that several of my vendors canceled on me after they were able to secure a bigger wedding. This, to me, is one of the bad areas of wedding industry. I do not feel that wedding vendors should take our money, retain us, and get us excited to be part of our wedding, and then book another bigger wedding and then drop us. I can tell you, as a wedding industry person for a very many years, as most of you know, this drives me crazy. And I probably hear, sadly, once a month, sometimes more, of a couple needing a photographer because the photographer is no longer to be seen, not around, and come to find out that they took a bigger wedding. And they happily refunded the retainer to the couple, but just where the couple can't secure another photographer quickly or find one that was available. So while the photographers did refund the retainer, they just dropped this couple because something bigger and better came along. And I can just tell you that is karma that you do not want to deal with, nor should you do that. And that brings me to the fact of engaged couples listening in. there is a reason you hire a wedding pro. I mean, come on, you get what you pay for. If there's a $100 videographer or a $100 photographer or a $5 bouquet, that's what you're going to get. That being said, I firmly believe that every single person's love story should be captured. Every single person deserves to have flowers. We can all work with budgets. And if we can't, we as wedding pros will find somebody to help you on your day so that you can have services that are valuable, that are good, and that will best reflect who you are as a couple. Some of us cannot always meet every budget that you guys send to us, and sometimes you guys send in ridiculously, and I'm going to use the word ridiculously, low budgets that based on the venue that you're at and some of the other vendors that you're using to then lowball the caterer or to lowball the photographer, it is insulting to us. And even though we want to tell you we have thick skin, it hurts our feelings. So when you are going into a contract with somebody, make sure that it's a wedding pro, make sure that you have a contract, and read all the terms and conditions. Read all the fine print. There's reasons we put those clauses in there. It is not because we are egotistical, but I joke a lot that every single wedding adds another clause because something happens that we have to protect ourselves and protect future couples. And that's the truth, I think, in any industry that you work in. There's cause and effect, and there's reasons for why things are put in someplace. And this is an area where if you book with a vendor and you have a contract, that is their word, along with your word, that you're both going to show up on this day. I apologize sincerely for these vendors, not just photographers, but sometimes it's venues that close down or something, God forbid, happens that they can't fulfill the contract. At least try to help the person find somebody to do that. But to just cancel a contract on somebody because they found something bigger and better to come along, there's no excuse for that. So engaged couples seem to be more worried about that these days. So, let's give them a little bit of grace when they ask some questions, but also engaged couples listening in need to give us a little bit of grace as wedding pros because something has probably happened to us to cause that. Or we have to protect ourselves too. We're trying to provide a living. This is our career. This is how we provide for our family. So it's just important to us that we're all on the same page and we understand. And that brings us to one of the questions that somebody said. When planning my wedding, I decided not to go with a buy one all here. When I asked a little bit more about that in a DM to this couple happens to be from Atlanta, Georgia. Her comment came back to me was, I steered away from any company who offered everything. I didn't want to go to just a wedding store. I wanted to hire individual wedding pros that were experts in their individual field. I wanted to make sure I had a band that was a band and the band that worked for themselves and didn't cater to what a corporate company band told them they had to do. I wanted to find a florist who was not just on the website servicing other types of flowers, but was a creative artist and did weddings on her own or on his own and provided design and decor that I felt best viewed my situation and our theme. I did not want to hire a videographer or a photographer from the same company, as I wanted each of them to do their own task and perform their own areas of expertise. I wanted to make sure that I had lighting from a lighting company, and I wanted to get decor from a decor company. I didn't want to just get everything that came under one wedding store's roof. When I talked to her a little bit more in a DM, one of the things that she was saying, there were so many places in Atlanta that are one-stop shops and that were even offer dresses and music and everything. And she found out that they all were getting a kickback and that they all necessarily didn't even like each other, but that it was a way that somebody came in, wrote one big check, and then they shared it all out. And she had heard horror stories about, well, maybe this person might be having a bad day or doesn't even really get along with this person, but because they're all wrapped up underneath one umbrella, they all showed up at the day and they just went about the wedding day doing their things kind of just as it is a job. And she said she had several friends that had used this company and their weddings were just that. It felt like it was just jump through this hoop, jump through that hoop, walk over there, do this, do that. There was no individuality about it. And that is fine for some couples, but most engaged couples seem to be looking for something that does reflect them and their personalities and make something unique for them and how they want their wedding to be and the experience they want to offer their guests. And I think that goes back to a lot of these questions that were brought up in this little segment that I wanted to bring to you guys here in this episode. Was I think we as wedding vendors are doing a lot of things right. I think the engaged couples are asking a lot more of us these days, and I think that will continue to change and grow in the industry as we move forward. This generation knows what they want, and they know they want it now, but then they also want to be told that they're special and that they're different enough, and they want to challenge us to be a little bit more creative. And I think we're all up for that challenge. I think we like couples that come to us and say, hey, here's a blank canvas. Here's the check. This is how much money I have to spend for each category, especially if you go out the wedding planner route to begin with, the designer. Hey, here's how much money we have for our wedding. Please go out and find us people, and then let us interview those people. But go out and find us people that can help bring this vision to life. And based on the questions that came back, there's a lot of couples that really do seek us out for our expertise, and they really do seek us out for the experiences that we can offer. And they really do want our opinions, and they want us to share our points, and they want us to say, hey, you can do this. But they also want us to step back for a minute and not just go, hey, look, this is what we do every Saturday. If you're getting married here, this is where you stand. Maybe it's our job, and I do think it's our job, to say, hey, this is what happens here at this venue. This is where most people get married. But man, if you're up for it, I think it'd be great if we could get married over here in this section. And again, if the wedding team is assembled, we can make sure that the DJ's, electrical cord is out there so they can provide ceremony music or have a microphone available. We need to make sure that chairs can be delivered in that area. So we still need to work together as a team, but then we can offer that couple that picks a certain venue where everything is always done underneath the gazebo or always done facing this area. As a wedding day team, maybe we can come up with some creative new things to make their wedding truly unique and different, even though it's in the same venue that many of us work at all the time. I think venues and hotels especially just fall into the trap of, well, it's built here, this is what it's for. But I also think that many, many venues these days, please, they want to do something different too. They want to have things that are unique to their venue and don't think the same thing. They want somebody to think out of a box. They want a couple and wedding pros to come and think outside the box, and they want somebody to bring a different perspective. Another one of the questions that a lot of couples ask is that they love seeing their wedding printed in a blog or shared on a blog or shared in a publication, but they also realize that a lot of the things in weddings that they were looking at were being called style shoots and that they weren't realistic. I think we're in a generation that understands that was a setup. I think they understand that was something that you do because they're all familiar with these pop-up shops and, hey, just go in there and set everything up and get everything done and then go on to the next one. So I think they understand the style shoot a little bit better. But I also read several comments that were like, we think that's great, but it's not that important that our wedding be featured in a magazine or be featured on a blog. We love to share our story. That's why you invited our guest. But beyond that, it doesn't seem all that important when we go looking at websites that individual vendors are featured in 25 different places. We want a wedding pro that has experience, that does have good reviews. We want to hear from actual couples along with wedding pros that the person that we want to hire does their job and knows what they're doing and does it with integrity and is well respected in the industry as well as by other engaged couples. So a lot of the couples that wrote back said they weren't really looking at, hey, you've been featured here, you've been featured on this publication. I see they have a badge from this place. They're looking more at hey, these reviews, this many people took the time. I know this person wanted to write a review, and this generation, you guys, that is all about reviews. They read reviews before they even look at pictures sometimes on websites. So it is important that you get, reviews, good and bad. A couple of people said that, 5 or 6 reviews that were less than 3 stars did not defer them from booking a couple vendors because they had less than 5 stars or they had less than stellar reviews. That anytime that they found a review that was not 5 stars or not perfect, they were able to read it. And they also know that wedding industry and wedding days are full of emotion. So when the couples were looking at websites, no matter where you were published at, or how many times you're published, they still looked at reviews more than they looked at being published. And they also understand that we're all not perfect and that sometimes we're going to get less than stellar reviews, but they really appreciate the fact that those of us that responded to those less reviews and were able to share our side of the story. And I think the takeaway too is couples do want to hear from you. Couples still want to have a conversation on the phone with you. Couples still want to do a Skype with you. But more importantly, couples want you to reply back to them when they reach out to you. And as a wedding pro, I can tell you, I want you to do the same that for me too. If Tina takes the time to send you an email or I send you a text, it's because I really want to share something with you, or I have a couple that I just can't wait for you to meet, and I think they'd be a great fit for you. So lots of times as wedding pros, we're always asking the question of, where's everybody advertising? Where's everybody spending their money? You know, guys, I've been doing this for 37 years, and I've done it the same way. And I know I'm that old stick in the mud, but I get to know my fellow pros, and I get to ask about them, and I want to know about their families. And sometimes I just take a coffee, and we just sit and talk about nothing about the wedding industry. But I learn a lot about them. I see how they run their business. I see how they take care of their couples. I want somebody on my wedding day team with me that's going to treat the couple that we have in common the same as I'm going to treat them, that they are my priority, and that together, the entire wedding day team, we're going to rise together, we're going to sing together, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure this couple's day is exactly what they envisioned. I'm not going to tell you it's the best day ever, because I think waking up the next day is pretty damn good. I think there's a lot more better days ahead. But I want this day that you made a significant investment on, and a day that you chose to celebrate each other and to join the union and to start your own family and your own traditions. I want that day to be the best I can deliver. And I'm honored to be a part of it. And I want to get vendors on the same wedding day team to feel that way about you as well. And so when we all feel that way and we all put our couples first and then the money second, it's a win-win for everybody. So hopefully, you've picked up some tidbits here in this episode about what couples want to hear. And I hope that you hear the number one thing is they just want to hear from you. And they just want you to reply back. We get annoyed when they ghost us. They're obviously getting just as annoyed when we ghost them. So take the time, figure out what your auto reply is or out of office reply is, and simply just write back and talk to the couple and thank them for being interested in your services. And then continue to help them build a wedding day team and provide a service that's outstanding, and give them customer service that they will talk about from the moment they met you all the way through after you deliver the products or after the wedding's over. This is your built-in referral. This is the way that your business will keep growing. They made an investment in you. Use that investment as your advertising dollars. Do a good job. Treat them with respect. Be open and honest from the beginning. Manage their expectations, exceed their expectations, and they will refer you over and over again for all your services. Destination weddings still get referrals, and while we don't get as many, couples that come here and attend may find you as the wedding vendor, and they may not choose a venue right in this area, but within 2 or 3 hours, they might be willing for you to come and be the wedding planner or come and be the florist. Sometimes caterers can't travel that far, but if you make an impact on that day and treat everybody, all the guests as well as the bride and groom and their families, with respect and care, and show them that you genuinely enjoy what you do and that you're honored and blessed to be a part of this celebration, they will sing your praises. They'll write you good reviews. They'll constantly be talking about you. That's where you continue to grow your business. So hopefully in this episode, you picked up a few tips that couples want to know. For the most part, we're doing a good job. For the most part, they love what we're doing. They just found a few frustrations, and I asked them to share that with us. So that's what I got for you in episode 29 here. Coming up, and then the next couple episodes, I'm off to visit, as I mentioned, some wedding vendors, wedding venues. So I'm going to go out and do one-on-one interviews with them and kind of get a little site tour and bring their stories and what it's like to be a wedding vendor and that owns a wedding venue and all their expectations. I'm also going to be talking to some wedding publications in the next couple episodes. So we're going to be hearing from some publications that publish weddings as well as publications that list wedding vendors as wedding vendors. So giving you a couple options coming up here. So the next 6 or 7 episodes are going to be really, really good for wedding vendors as well as engaged couples and what they can learn. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the podcast. I'm trying to bring you a mix of everything. Please keep sending in your text topics, your DM topics, anything and anyone you want me to go out and have a chat with. I'm thrilled to go interview them. My purpose for this was to sing the praises of a lot of small vendors and that don't always see the big rock star limelight. But we're out here working for you, especially in coastal Georgia. Savannah Wedding Vendors and the Golden Isles Wedding Association. Got some fabbo people in this industry, and we're here to serve you and to help you. And my goal is to introduce you to as many of them as possible along the way. And the only way I know how to do it, authentic, my bumps, my jumps, my mispronunciations, and all those things that go along with me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you for giving me some grace as I sometimes mumble along. But my goal is to introduce engaged couples to some fabulous wedding vendors and some fabulous wedding vendors to more fabulous wedding vendors. So till next week, everybody, enjoy the rest of the summer. Have a fabulous week. Go out. Be wonderful this weekend. Remember, you're a blessing, and it's a privilege to serve our couples and be part of their special day. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great day, and be Fabbo.
Thanks for joining us. We hope these conversations will take you into your wedding weekend with a little more confidence, proud of what you do, and how you serve your clients. Maybe you even picked up a business tip or two. Till next time, be Fabbo.